Hey folks, my name is Mike. This is KEI Fabrication and welcome to my shop. And this is my most recent project, and this is my shop truck, my daily driver, my race truck, my garbage truck, and my all-around performance vehicle. It is a junkyard build where we drag two vehicles out of two different junkyards and combine them to make one performance vehicle. If you want to follow along with the channel, you can see the progress of the build on this truck and all the modifications that have been made. So this truck has already been to car shows, it's been road racing, it's been drag racing, and it's been circle track racing. So we've got a bunch more new projects in the queue. We're looking forward to meeting more of you. And for those of you who've been with the channel for a while, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate your comments and the interaction and encouragement. I hopefully through this project we've gained some credibility with you folks. And let's see what's coming up next. Hey folks, we're back in the shop today. It's been a long time since I've actually tinkered in the shop on the Mazda. Been doing a lot with some other things, but I got a couple of things on the list today, and I'm going to try and tackle one at a time, and I'll show you what it is in just a minute. Alright folks, the next thing I want to try and accomplish today is I would like to take the shortest main leaf out of the rear leaf spring, and the reason why I'm doing that is this is still the truck suspension. It's all factory stock, and it's set up for hauling around, 800 pounds worth of stuff and still maintaining a reasonable ride height. I just had 6 sheets of sheetrock in it, a bunch of 2x4s, and the truck actually just leveled out. So the spring rate is way stiffer than it needs to be for performance applications. I think it'll help me to soften it up, not only from the drag race perspective by allowing some more weight transfer back here, but also in cornering on the road courses, just to maybe get a little more less oversteer out of the deal. So anyway, before you make any suspension modifications, you really have to go through the same procedure you would do if you're doing any kind of alignment on a passenger vehicle, because you could be making all kinds of changes, and even with just one tire off 10 pounds on tire pressure, you may be making adjustments in a direction that is going to hurt you down the road. So step one, you really want to check all of the tire pressures all the way around. I've already done that. Step two, just like in a real alignment situation, is you want to make sure that you don't have any suspension problems where you've got a weak spring or strut or a damaged, anything like that. So one of the ways to do that is you need to check the ride height all the way around. Now if you're doing a standard alignment, you would refer to a manual or the specification stored in the alignment computer memory. But I was taught this a long time ago by a circle track guy, and it's just made so much sense. Rather than trying to figure out ride height, you never know if the ground is level or anything else. But if you stick your tape measure on the lip of the rim and you put a piece of tape on the fender and mark it at a nominal number, something that's easy. In this case, I have 23 3/4. I can always go back to this and refer it every time when I make any changes. I'm going to take readings all the way around the vehicle. You can see that I've put the tape on the rear as well. And again, just like I had said, make sure that you're going vertical in the center line of the rim each time. You want some sort of consistency in that regard, and make a mark that is on a nominal measurement. This happens to be 25 inches even. I'm going to do that all the way around. Now when I make a relative change, when I set the vehicle back down, I get my tape measure out, I measure it in the exact same manner, and I will notice immediately the changes that I've made. And if I recorded it all the way around, I will see that if, let's say, I lowered the back, did it relieve any weight off of the front, and what is my front measure? And if I've increased the ride height in the front as a result of lowering the rear, that's a direct indication that I've taken some weight off of the front and transferred it to the back. So being a chassis guy, all of that information is critical to know if the changes you've made is going to produce the benefit that you're trying to achieve. So I'm going to run around and measure all of these things. If there's any subtle adjustments that I need to make, I'll do that now. Shake the truck around. You always want to roll it back and forth to take what's called the scrub out, especially if you're working on the front end. When you turn the wheel back and forth, the tread and the flex in the tire kind of acts as a spring, and it may actually trap some forces into the suspension. And you really want to roll it back and forth and bounce it up and down a few times to settle the suspension down. If you go through that procedure every time after you make a change, your data will be consistent and it won't be biased in any way. So any other type of things, the circle track guys use turntables and anti-friction plates. Some people put a little bit of sand on here, maybe with a small piece of thin plywood or plexiglass to act as ball bearings to get it to slide around. There's all kinds of tricks around it. If you bounce it up and down and roll it back and forth, you'll minimize the amount of scrub. So I'm going to go around to the other side, make my measurements for my suspension ride height, and then I'm going to switch back to the rear and raise the truck up on my lift pads here so the suspension is dangling, and I'm going to remove that one leaf and set it back down after that leaf is removed and see what my ride height is, and then we can get some data as far as what happened as a result of that change. Okay folks, so I've got one side apart. I'm doing one side at a time. I've got the rear end held up off of the spring with my tranny jack, and this particular spring had the main leaf, two other leaves, and then the helper spring for the real heavy loads. My goal today is to eliminate the shorter of the two leaves. And the reason is I want to soften the ride height of the truck, soften the ride of the truck or the spring rate, and I also want to lower the truck a little bit. The rule of thumb is that the shorter the leaf, the stiffer it is. And the reason is there's not as much material to move around. So it's like cutting a coil out of a coil spring. When you cut the coil out of the coil spring, the spring rate increases or the spring becomes stiffer. The shorter the leaf is in the spring stack, the more resistance to weight it provides. The longer one is more flexible, so therefore it's a softer spring rate. All right folks, there's one side done. I removed the leaf that used to go here and here. So I'm going to go over to the other side now. Alright folks, just to prove that the longer leaf is a softer spring rate than the upper leaf, I'm going to stand on this and measure the deflection and how far is left above the floor. So if you can see, I've got all my weight on it, and the spring is about 3/4 of an inch from the floor for the long leaf. And then I'll move this one back and put this one forward. Again, this is the shorter leaf now, and I've got all of my weight on it, and it is almost 1.5 inches above the floor. So this is resisting more weight than this is, therefore this is a stiffer spring rate. Again, this has more material to distribute the load and therefore makes it more flexible. The shorter the leaves are, the stiffer they are. So if you're ever making some adjustments to your leaf spring stack, if you're looking for decreasing the stiffness of the ride, remove the shorter leaves. This thing rides like a cement truck with a stock spring, so I hopefully will benefit from a softer ride. I'll give you all that feedback when I do a test drive. Alright folks, moment of truth. I'm going to set it down and see what happened. Alright, I just set it down on the wheels, and I'm going to roll it back and forth to get rid of some of that scrub I was telling you about. And we can get a real-time measurement of what the resultant suspension changes were. Again, you always want to bump it around, roll it back and forth, just to get the wheels to settle out. Alright, so let me reposition the wheel chocks here, and I'll take some measurements. The ride height change right now looks like it might be 1/16 of an inch, and I think I know why, and I'll show you in a minute. I'm actually going to go ahead and put the third leaf back in and get rid of the main leaf today, and I'm going to make a spacer block to replace the main leaf. I've built some confidence in my approach today. I actually went back and did the math for the rate of the spring, and I think if I get rid of the main leaf, even when I put a load in, the truck will probably squat more, but it'll certainly handle a little bit of a load, not quite as much as it used to. And I should get my spring rate softened up a little bit. To be honest with you, the total spring rate of just the leaf spring itself without the helper leaf is about 120 inch-pounds. What that means is for every inch of compression, it exerts 120 pounds of force, which works out about right. If I compress the spring about 4 inches, we're pushing out about 500 pounds, and the back of the truck probably weighs 500 pounds per side, so the numbers are starting to come in. If I were to put coilovers in this truck, I would probably put around 100 inch-pound spring rate of a coilover. So my confidence is that if my leaf spring rate is around that 100 to 120 inch-pounds, it should put me at the level of the performance and ride characteristics that I'm looking for. So anyway, I'm going to jack it up, tear it apart, go through the whole process again, and I'm going to redo all of my measurements because they've changed since I have done the initial set of changes. So I have more data to realize what actually happened as a result of the changes. So here we go. Everybody needs to build one of these. This is an old scissor jack. I welded a 1/2 inch extension on it. I've used this for over 20 years for multiple reasons. I've used it to push dents out of race car doors and fenders and quarter panels and stuff. Just been a really handy tool for me. So I'm going to measure this, see if I've got some material around. I don't want to cut this just in case this experiment goes in a direction that's not helpful to me. I need to be able to recover from that without spending any money. just a little bit of time putting it back together. So anyway, I'm going to see if I can make up a spacer block. Alright folks, I found some material that is going to work for a spacer to replace the leaf spring. I've marked it where it needs to be cut for the correct thickness, and then I used the old diagonal trick to locate the center. I'm going to center punch them, drill the holes before I cut it, because it's just easier to do that way. The material is easier to hang on to as a bigger piece than it is a smaller piece. Alright, and then I'll cut this out. So what I'm doing here, folks, is where it's going to come in contact with the main leaf, I rounded the edges so it doesn't act as a knife. So I'm just taking the flapper disc, it's a Harbor Freight flapper disc, and I'm putting a chamfer on it first and then just going in a motion like this and creating a radius, and then I'll go over to the belt sander and tune it up afterwards. So anyway, just a little precaution. I don't want to do any more damage to the leaf springs than I already have. Alright folks, I've got one of the spacers in the driver's side here and all the leaves back in, and I've got the bolts snug. I can let down my little floor jack here. You might be wondering why I went through the trouble of putting the spacers in to replace the main leaf. Underneath the leaf spring doesn't have anything to do with ride height, but in terms of shimming the traction bar from the leaf spring, in order to maintain that same distance and the same amount of rotation that I had tuned into it before, I needed to replace that space with just a placeholder, if you will. Alright folks, so this video was running towards 25 minutes long, and it was just a lot of repetitiveness. What ended up happening is I ended up removing the main helper leaf and making a spacer block like I had alluded to, and just put the remainder of the factory leaves back in. I ended up with a 120 inch-pound spring rate, and I lowered the truck probably a ½ an inch in the rear, and it raised up the front like a ¼ of an inch. So I did transfer some weight from the front to the back, which should be helpful in launching, and the reduced spring rate gives me a softer ride and should soften up the back to help in the performance characteristics that I was looking to gain.